AFR Talk Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. It's great to be here. Well, what a day. This is going to be an incredible kickoff to another very, very busy week from charitable giving standpoint. I think that we're going to see a frenzy. I don't want to say we're going to see a frenzy starting. We're going to see a frenzy that is going to continue and pick up a little bit more momentum based on the president's comments yesterday. Fred Jackson's going to come in here and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but we are going to see. Let me tell you something, folks. Let me just say this: if you have not thought about your charitable giving, you better do it now. If you may even want to, if you're in the position and you have the ability to give what you might normally give next year, you may want to consider it this year. You know, make notation to your church, to others, that this is, basically going to be considered your 2013 tithe or your giving. You may want to consider that. There are many of you, I know a few, I know more than a few, I know a whole bunch, that have been considering setting some sort of charitable trust up as part of their estate planning tools, have considered doing donor advised funds, have considered doing using other kinds of charitable tools as part of their estate planning and efforts to try to minimize their tax situation, either in their estates or their present day. There are people considering right now doing something with charitable gift annuities or such, and are likely still sitting on the fence about it, have not pulled the trigger yet, can't bring themselves to pulling the trigger for one reason or another. If you think, and if the Lord is nudging you to make that a part of your giving, yes, it benefits you by way of income for life, but if the Lord is nudging you in that direction, you better take heed and you better do it today, because time is quickly running out, and it's just a matter of time before we are not going to be able, or we or the American Family the AFA Foundation is not going to be able to accommodate. It is getting more and more difficult every day. So, and by the way, that goes for charities, ministries around the country. Billions of dollars, people doing literally last minute planning. And we're seeing billions of dollars. The concern I have about that is, have they done a well thought out plan? I hope so. But nevertheless, time's running out. It looks like right now Obama is set on getting rid of that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. That pause was me sneezing. Sorry about that. Anyway, S&P futures are up. You know why they're up? Not because of any economic news that we've had here in the United States of America, but primarily due to China. China's data, here's the headline: China's data inspires the market. U.S. stock futures rose on Friday ahead of data on consumer prices and industrial production. Sentiment was inspired by upbeat news from China manufacturing, but investors were keeping a nervous eye on talks to avert the fiscal cliff. Stock futures here in the United States are inspired by the upbeat news that is coming out of the China manufacturing sector. And I want to remind everybody, Communist China's manufacturing sector that is controlled, everything they say or do is controlled by the communist regime. And frankly, this is one of those things in economic data that I've been talking about so much that frankly does not make sense. Here's why. First of all, we all know when we talk about China's manufacturing sector and China's exporting capacity, that the number one region in the world in which they export goods and services. Many think it's America. It is not. America's number two. Number one is the Eurozone. You all know that the Eurozone is the largest economy in the world. Now, I'm talking about the Eurozone, not any specific country. I'm talking about all 27 countries combined. In case you missed it somewhere along the line, the Eurozone is in recession. By the way, in recession and getting worse. They are experiencing contraction, higher unemployment, higher taxes, all impacting consumer spending. So I'm trying to figure out how you have the number one and the number two export areas, the areas in which the Chinese manufacturing sector is dependent upon for the majority of their production, is having consumer confidence issues. That would be America as well as the Eurozone, who is likely to see consumer discretionary income issues already being experienced in a much more dramatic fashion than it is here in America, but America is going to catch up to that soon based on probably 2013 tax rules, regulations, and compromises that our legislators are likely to reach. Not to mention, the only reason that things are, if you can call them good, as they are in our economy, is because gasoline prices have held their own. So that information that I just talked about does not compute, folks, to China's upbeat news on their manufacturing sector. Something's wrong with the picture. You figure it out. It just, it's too annoying for me to even go there any further, but it's just, it doesn't make sense. Yet, apparently, myself and others that may be that are obviously in the minority, kind of don't get this, but apparently traders are okay with it and they fully understand it and aren't worried about it. Could it be that so many traders just don't even just look at headlines just like the average American? That would be a pathetic thing, but I think it might be the case. You've got traders, financial analysts looking at headlines in order to make decisions about how the economy might be impacted by a particular headline. If that is the case, we're in bigger trouble than I thought. But anyway, futures in positive territory based on that. Of course, yesterday, all the major indices ended up down. The Dow was down 74, the NASDAQ down 21, the S&P down 9 yesterday. Oil has extended pretty weekly gains, again, on upbeat news coming out of China. Obviously, if the manufacturing sector is upbeat in China, that means demand will increase. One of the reasons that gasoline prices have stayed stable is because demand has been of concern globally. When I say of concern, I mean lower than expectations. Apparently, oil up on this upbeat news as a result of demand likely to be up in China if this news is reality and not propaganda. So that's kind of, where we are with the markets. We'll see how things, not a lot of basically all week long, the economic news has been relatively low with the exception of the comments coming out of the Fed.